if you know how to use silence, it's like, I need to talk to my wife. And then I just, you kind of just let, and in if we were speaking in empathetic terms, I would hold space for you.
Sure.
And then people get awkward.
I know. I love that.
And then they start talking.
That was my favorite part.
Welcome back to another episode of the Monarch Social Podcast.
Where we discuss all things digital media marketing. We're back. We're back, baby.
You flew solo with Skelly. And then we had Chancey.
Chancey goes
drops
out
next.
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys have just watched Chancey last week.
Yes, you did.
I'm stoked to be here today. We're with one of a longtime friend of ours.
Yes.
You've been on our podcast twice. I've been on yours a couple times. Co's been on yours a couple times.
Yeah, let's go.
Dalton Jensen.
Let's go.
Yeah, thank you.
Dalton is the host of The Thinking Project. Yep. He's also the owner and whatever of Empathetic Sales. He dabbles in marketing. He's an expert in sales. Yes. But introduce yourself. Tell us what you have going on, my friend.
Yeah, dude. Empathetic Selling Solutions hasn't changed. Still have a course. We do corporate trainings, and then we just started an outsourced SDR agency.
And an SDR, for those listening?
Sales development reps.
Because I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that's a new one. That's a new one. I'm like, there's all these.
You got SDR, BDR, ADR. They all mean the same thing. You got like account development reps, business development reps. Yep.
Nice.
Some companies have MDRs, which are marketing development reps, but it's all the same. They take inbound, outbound, generate leads for the business.
Nice.
With Empathetic Sales, when did you start Empathetic Sales? And what is Empathetic Sales?
Yeah, Empathetic Selling is just a modern sales strategy that basically helps you lower sales resistance, because the old school stuff, everybody sees it coming a mile away. If you start asking questions, if you set the agenda like Sandler, old school, like Zig Ziglar, Joe Verde stuff, like some of that has its place. But most of the time, if you really want to like get further in a conversation, people know, like, you know what I mean? Like one of my favorite lines whenever I'm like dealing with a salesperson is, a salesperson will be like, hey, look, I know all the tricks. Like, let's just cut to the chase. And my rebuttal is like, oh, thank God. Like that means we're not going to play. Like we're not going to play any games, right?
It takes a lot of stress off of them as well.
You're like, oh, cool.
Sick.
Cool. So how about we just cut right to the chase? But you have to balance it, right? It's a nuance between like, how do we get the deal and still treat people the way that they need to be treated? And empathy is one of the best ways to do that. I would say like the best way to do that, because it's when you look at what empathy is, it's not a woo-woo thing. It's very tactical. I think even Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference, calls it tactical empathy. I think his son, Brandon Voss, actually wrote a book called Tactical Empathy or something like that. But yeah, it's just like, how do you balance between like, we've got to get this deal, but we can't push them
just
away.
Pressure these guys into
we can't
signing
just
a deal.
hard close these guys.
All the old stuff, ask the questions, build the relationships and the rapport, overcome objections.
Yeah. It's just, it's exhausting. And handling objections is stupid. Everybody knows what's coming.
Right.
Like I was on a sales call and I was like, look, I genuinely talked to my wife about purchases. Like she's part of the business. That's what I do. And it's not, I'm still have my balls and my man card. Right? Like I just, you know what I mean? And then, he hits me with, hey, you just hit me with the spouse objection. And I'm like, you say whatever you want, but I got to go talk to my wife, dude. I'll call you tomorrow. Like, I don't know what you want from me.
You get those sales guys that if they can't close it on the phone, like you can feel it, and like you can feel them like getting jittery across the phone if they can't sell you on the first phone call.
It's TikTok.
Sales breath.
Yeah.
Sales
Commission
bros.
breath.
Yeah.
Commission breath.
I would call them Vivint Bros. That's what I always call them.
Vivint Bros.
Yeah, like get off my doorstep, dude. Come back tomorrow. I think
I've been a Vivint Bro.
I think empathetic selling really shines in like follow up, because like and then you build. The old school scarcity is like less. You increase supply, you increase demand, and if you're artificially going to invoke scarcity, you're probably going to decrease demand somehow, because it's really hard to increase demand. You're going to increase supply or decrease supply, not increase demand.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Does that make it more limited?
Yeah. So I'm going to be like, I only take 5 clients.
Yes.
Right. And that's how I'm going to artificially
add urgency to that.
Yeah, add this urgency. And so, but there's a better way to do that. And that is losing the commission breath and like divorcing yourself from the outcome, which is empathy, right? Like, I don't care if you buy. I got 15 people lined up ready to go, Makawa. Mm-hmm. So if you don't say yes now, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a little more like that's like,
it's less like pushy in your face.
Look, bro, it's going to be $5,000 today. It's going to be $5,000 in a week.
Yeah.
I got 10 people ready to go. If you don't buy, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I think in a business, I've said this a couple times, maybe even on the podcast or a podcast, that there's two main types of sales guys in my brain. And Dalton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sales Coach. But there's two types of sales guys mostly. You get the guys that you walk past in the mall that are the closers, right? Yeah. Like they're at their little kiosk and you need their Himalayan bath salt scrub or whatever the fuck it is. And then you have the other type of person, which is more relational. And they both have pitfalls. Like a relational sales guy can take too long to close and he never closes. He doesn't ask for the close because it's all relational. And then you have the closers that have zero relationship and they're trying to close. I think both are important in a business. They really are. You have to close the deal, but you also need a relationship. So in my experience, finding someone that has both those qualities where they know how to close, they know how to like ask for the close and ask for the sell, but also develop an awesome relationship with them. I think that's what you're looking for in a sales guy.
Rock stars.
Yeah. Well, and that, how do you blend the two? And I think it's empathy, right? Because you've got to do both. So I learned empathy from being a crisis counselor. I think I've told you guys that story, right? Yeah. Yeah. So like we had calls, we had texts. I was on the text line. We had texts sometimes that were like, I'm ready. I've got everything to do it and I'm ready to go. And like,
that's rough.
You know, we can't so what do you do? Because you can't just be like the hard closer guy.
Prove
like,
it.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, off of the other guys. Have you seen the other guys?
Yes.
That's off of the other guys, right? He's like, a lot of these people don't think you can fly. No, but we had to balance it, right? Between like, I couldn't, because if you're a hard closer, you're like, well, let's figure out what's going on and solve all the problems. And like, nobody gives a shit.
Right.
Like, I made a video about this. It went viral on TikTok, like how I don't think pain points should be a thing. Or at least not the focus. Because if you're talking with someone like that, it's not, everything's painful and everything sucks and you're hopeless. And so how do you win that? Because it's pretty, it's a fine line between winning and losing.
Dude, yes. Yeah,
and,
very fine line.
And so how do you quote unquote, and I don't want to like trivialize what crisis counselors do, but in this case, it's like, how do you quote unquote close a deal and still make somebody feel like they have a safe plan going forward and like can move going forward. And that's just like listening to people, helping them uncover their own solutions. Like we never gave anybody solutions. So it'd be like, what do you like to do to make yourself feel happy? Yeah. And they would tell you. And then you'd be like, and then we'd be like, happiness sucks sometimes. Sometimes the goal's not happiness. So what do you do just to unwind and like turn your brain off? And so we'd go through these. And do you want to hear something shocking? I don't know if I told you guys this last time, but do you want to hear something shocking about the crisis text line and suicide hotline?
Yes, we do.
Please.
They have a time limit for how long they can talk.
On the call?
What?
On the call.
What the?
So what happens when you get to that?
Minutes. You'll start hearing on the text. They started texting you. Your like manager, the supervisor would be like,
wrap it up.
They'd be like, hey, you're spending too long with this person. You need to start winding them down and sending them off. Well, okay, this is why though. Because you and I could talk for 2 hours and never get anything done. If I have, I've got 45 minutes to take this person from hot to cold. And in that 45 minutes, I need to make sure that they get safe, make sure they feel validated, and then establish a safety plan going forward. Because if you have, and it's this idea of like urgency, right? Like I've got to help this person because.
Yeah, it's about the close. And also it's like, to play, on their end of things, there's probably other calls that are coming in too, so they need to help other people.
Well, there's other calls, but you as a person, like
that'd be really hard for me to just like try to get that done. But I totally get.
Yeah, but even you though, even if you texted into me, we don't want to turn this into like a wallowing session. Yeah. We want this to be productive, helpful, and we want you to feel confident when you leave. And doing that in 2 hours doesn't like.
You start going in circles a little bit.
We start talking in circles. And we start bringing stuff up.
And some of those people in that crisis moment are they just want to talk. A lot of times they just probably want to vent and have someone to listen. They could talk for all night long.
Yeah, exactly.
For 5 hours.
And now we're not solving any problem. Like we're not actually moving forward and progressing. So
yeah, but just off the top of the head, that sounds harsh.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like when you first hear that, you're like, oh,
you're like,
whoa,
God damn,
you got 4 minutes to save this guy's life, or 45
your
minutes.
time starts now. Go
and
on.
it literally, bro, when you're on the text, there's a timer. And it goes green, yellow, red, and then you start getting text.
When you explain it, it makes sense.
Yeah. But here again though, this is why relationship selling isn't as good as what people think it is.
So do you think? Okay, if you take the general salesman out there, let's take Utah salesman, right?
right.
Since we're in Utah, Salt Lake, what do you think their biggest problem is? Is it the relationship? Is it listening? What do you think sales guys suck at right now, or what they could do better?
No, I think it's their mindset, dude. I think they watch too much TikTok, like the TikTok
too much
sales
gurus.
bros. Yeah, dude. It like if you close more than 50%. You're not a good salesperson because you're not taking as many shots as you need to. You're not talking to as many people as you need to. And I would never trust a guy who says he closes 100%.
Yeah.
Because that
What's
means
the percentage that you should shoot for?
I think 30 or 40 is a really solid number.
Yeah.
Like if you give me 10 leads, I can close 4 of them. That's great, dude.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I'm talking to people. I'm doing my job. We're playing the game between quality and quantity. And that's a great 30-40% is amazing, dude.
Do you want to hear something really fucking cool though?
Yeah.
In Monarch, before we sold, is I looked at our proposals that I sent out.
Yeah.
Do you know what our acceptance rate was? Over 70%.
That's great. That's different than
I know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
dude, that just reminded me of that. And I was like, that means when I sent it, the relationship was there.
Yeah,
that's when you send them.
And there's differences. So if you got fresh lead to close, 30 or 40. But if you're like sending a proposal to close,
that
should be high.
That should be high.
But you shouldn't be sending proposals.
I was still proud about that because we obviously they do different proposals here than we did at Monarch, and so we had to get rid of that. And so I was looking through the data, and I was just like, I gave myself a pat on the back to be like, damn, I had an over 70% close rate for proposals sent.
Yeah,
that's great, dude.
I was proud of myself on that. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
I think they just listen to the gurus. Like if you listen to the gurus and like, bro, I did one video on TikTok where I did an objection. And it was like, and it did pretty well. Like the views did pretty well, but I just felt so like it wasn't an actual objection. Like it's like, what's the price? Yeah. You actually get that objection at the beginning of the deal.
Yeah, it's more like information given.
Dude, yeah,
that's like one of the first ones that comes up.
Yeah, if like people want a demo and pricing on the first call. Period.
Yes.
Exactly. And by the way, why would you want to waste your time with someone who can't afford it?
Right.
Yeah,
It's not a diss.
Question.
Yeah, it's not a diss to you or to them. Mm-hmm. Dude, like if you can't afford it, that's not a bad thing, bro. Yeah. There's other people out there that you can get this done with. I'm not the guy. Mm-hmm. It's totally fine.
Yep.
Why are you trying to close everybody?
Yeah. Right.
It's stupid. I think 100% stupid anyway.
Speaking of TikTok, Dalton, I have two things to say. First of all, if you don't follow Dalton on TikTok, you need to. What's your handle for the
empathetic selling?
Empathetic selling.
Yeah.
Dude, my favorite thing is where he stitches these videos of people teaching something,
and then just rips them.
And then Dalton gets in their rips, and then you go to the comments and you see like they're replying back. I'm like, I live for that shit,
dude. Yeah, I'm like, bro, I did rip one guy, and the creator of the video texted me back. It was a stupid video.
Yeah,
and I think here I gave him a little bit of grace because I was like, okay, you can't teach your whole mentality in 60 seconds on TikTok, but don't clip that piece. That was the worst one you could have clipped, dog. He was like, let me show you how to ask questions or like take control of the conversation. He's like, ask me any question. The guy in the audience goes, what's your favorite color? He goes, that's interesting. Why do you ask? And I'm like, fuck you. That's not how you talk to people.
Why do you ask?
Why do you ask? That's like so hostile.
Like, yeah. Like, why? How about fuck you? That's why. Right? Like, why? I actually tell people in my training not to use the word why because it's just so confrontational. In any tone,
it seems definitely hostile. Like when you ask somebody that,
yeah.
Like,
it's
why are you asking me this? Like,
it's like,
why can't I ask you this?
Even if you mean right, like even if we're on a call and because one of the first things you want to do on a call is establish why they're there, right? So you're like, Makoa, thanks for like. There's two ways to say it. Like Makoa, thanks for being here. Why did you take the call today? Or like, why did you take the call today? Like any tone, it's like, what do you mean? Why?
What do you mean? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you asking conversation? Obviously,
right. But if I go, Morgan, thanks for being here today, man. I'm just curious what prompted you to take the call today. That's totally different.
Then
nicer.
Why? Yeah.
Right.
Nicer.
Yeah,
way
like,
nicer way.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm just curious. Like most people are going through XYZ. Is that, and sometimes you don't even have to ask. Sometimes you can just give them an executive summary and then ask them if that's right. Right. They'd be like, Morgan, I know we're talking about sales today. Typically when people take this call, they're looking for XYZ. Is the case with you, or am I totally off base?
Way better way to
present and it's like, now I'm not an idiot. Well, I wonder why what are you doing here? Did my marketing work? Like, stop it, dude. You know,
how many salespeople have you trained, Dalton, or are part of your program? Or
yeah, I mean, I probably, you know, it's not a ton. Like probably 300, 400, 500 people have gone through it.
Yeah,
and then training BDRs and probably a few companies, you know. So
do you have like do you have like any like awesome success stories from like people that have done your training and come back and been like, dude, bro?
Yes, I have one. We trained totally crazy. They're the National Permanent Cosmetics Academy. Shout out to Carly, her husband Chase, and then Colleen.
Shout out Carly.
Yeah. They actually have a really cool product, and Carly called me because she was on my podcast. We talked about sales. She was like, hey, will you train my salesperson? She's like they were on the verge of like having hard conversations, and they were like, this was the last ditch effort. So, and by the way, I think it should be pointed out that this works with anybody, so I can use it with killers, but Colleen is an older woman who's been in makeup and permanent makeup her whole entire career. And anytime you're dealing with the older generation, it's tough. Like they don't want a young guy coming in and telling them what to do and all this shit.
Sometimes it's a pride thing.
But her and I leveled with each other. I used my own techniques to win her over. And they wrote, the week after we were done training, they wrote $45,000 in education sales.
Wow.
That's huge.
And it was just some little, and by the way, these weren't like, these were all net new, but they weren't like fresh. Like some of them were fresh, but a majority of the 45 I was like, hey, go back and redo this. So it was like we saved deals. We didn't just like lose money and get new money. We like saved old money and got new money. And I think that that's a big piece because people are just like, I lost them. Right. Like I think follow-up is a big one.
Follow-up is super big.
Yeah.
What's that saying? Fortune is in the follow-up.
Yeah. 100%.
I can't remember what book that comes from. With the SDR stuff or the sales development. Mm-hmm. So basically there's companies out there, they have a sales team. They can call Mr. Dalton Jensen and say, bro,
I'm struggling here. We need some help.
I need better sales. They can get a hold of you. You come in, you put on a presentation. Is that how empathetic sales, one facet of it works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can hire a team. And we can bring your team.
And how long usually does like your trainings last with like a company, like training their sales reps?
Yeah, so it's pretty unique. I do have we do a half day or a full day, but then we do ongoing support. So your team, the whole team will have access to the course, which includes 2 monthly calls, live calls with me. And whoever I bring on, sometimes I bring on guys or girls to help me train on those. And so it's fun. Yeah. So they get aftercare, which is a lot of salespeople.
Ongoing support is definitely
huge.
But a lot of sales trainers don't do that.
I know. It's like once you're done, you're done. Yeah, exactly.
Well, what I've learned in sales, I kick something. What I learned in sales is when I learn new things, I'll start implementing some of those things, like let's say 10% of what I've learned, and then I'll cling to that rather than like if someone gives a presentation and I cling to like the 10 to 20% and I implement those things, and then I'll go back later and be like, oh shit, there's all this other stuff but I cling to like that 20%.
And I only teach 20% when we go into a company, but it's on purpose because of that.
Yeah.
Like what's going to move the needle the quickest for you? That's what we're going to focus on.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is there a type of company or business that you do better with than others? Like what's like the certain industry?
Yeah, I mean, we like the money ones are door to door. They have a lot of inbound teams and outbound teams.
So you can do anything from outside sales to inside sales. You can
phone's
help a team.
phone. Yeah, phone's a phone, dude.
Phone's a phone.
Yeah, and people are people. Like here's what people get wrong, and this is one thing that I think marketing did a really good job at like convincing us of was like personas.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're a business owner, right? But like you're gonna buy so many different types of things. You like watches, you like turf, you like whatever, right? So like that's what people don't understand is like you guys are probably also in the market for pest control. Which if I went to a marketer and I said, give me my persona, they're not going to say business owners. They're going to say homeowners, 45 or whatever. And it's like, typical. But like we can go, there's so many different things that you can do. So like when people get mad at me when I say a phone's a phone, like sales is sales, because we're all people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. Like I'm going to sell you a $150,000 G-Wagon the same way I'm going to sell almost identical to how I'm going to sell you a 100,000 Adobe contract to a company.
Exactly.
I mean, it's pretty similar.
And so when you bring up personas, it's like your strategy is obviously completely different depending on the personas. I mean, somewhat similar, but like there's
some
different tactics.
Yeah, there's some nuances, but overall, it's like I'm going to sell the Makoa the same way I'm going to sell the Morgan.
Yeah.
One of my favorite type of salesperson out there, and I just have to say this, is the door-to-door sales guys.
Yeah, those guys are fun.
Those are my favorite. I think
Mad
that
respect for them too.
mad respect for him, but I think that those are some of the best sales guys. If you give me a guy that's been on the doors for 3 months, and you give me a guy that's been on the phones for 3 months,
the door guy's good.
The
door guy's fun.
I love door-to-door sales guys, man. Like it just teaches you something different. I mean, I was a missionary.
Yeah,
I knocked
Me
doors.
too.
I knocked doors for Jesus, Dalton. So
we sold Jesus.
we sold.
and damn,
That's a tough sell.
I was great at it. I worked with the Hispanic population.
Oh, let's go.
They love redheads.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
100%.
But
I feel like that's why a lot of door-to-door people come out of Utah.
they do. Yeah. Oh,
Actually, 100%.
100%. I think
Actually,
that's what.
it's
And like they're slayers. Like when I did my summer doing door-to-door, the top guys were always like RMs.
Well, because we can speak to this. Is
Yeah.
like, dude, you do it for 2 years straight, knocking doors,
and that's
man.
that's probably one of the hardest sells.
yeah, and like who cares? Like I don't know. Rejection isn't easy, but at some point you're just like,
You just don't care.
yeah, you're just like, okay,
You're just like, all right, on to the next
I'll go wind down or whatever.
And it's crazy too because you do it with like a cheery attitude because you're like, Jesus is on my
you
side.
gotta smile,
you know?
baby.
Yeah, and so I think it just I love door-to-door sales guys, and I love training those guys, and you know every one of the door-to-door guys that I've worked with and stuff, whether training them or helping them or talking with them, they hold a special place in my heart.
Dude, and what's wild is you get a lot of these like crazy, because door-to-door sales guys are great. I love car salespeople.
Yeah.
In fact, some of my best car salesmen that I ever got were actually restaurant waiters and waitresses.
Oh, well, they know how to talk to
They're
people.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
know how to talk
but
to
here's
people.
this is why I freaking hate the tech scene in Utah. Well, I don't hate the tech scene. They've done a lot of good, and obviously this is a great place to do it. But one of the problems with the tech world is we got to get rid of the boys club, because they think for some reason a sales development rep is an entry level position. It's the hardest position, like easily 10 times harder than an AE. Period. End of story. But like for some reason, they just discount like car salespeople or door-to-door salespeople or like waiters and waitresses, like, or Zoomies employees. Holy shit! Shout out to Zoomies. Do you guys know that they're on commission?
No.
Buckle employees, Zoomies,
like Journeys,
they're commission.
straight commission.
It
might even be like how waiters and waitresses are. They get like $2 an hour, and then everything else is commission.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's insanity.
I knew Buckle got great commission, but I didn't know what Zoomies was.
Yeah, Buckles, Zoomies.
Journeys was the first one I knew.
Journeys. PacSun, like these retailers their guys are commission. And dude, the only difference between that guy and your SDR is this guy has walk-in traffic, but that's just as bad. Yeah, mall walkers, dude. Come on, stop it.
With this new generation growing up on electronics and doing everything, especially during the pandemic when we're on Zoom and stuff like that, do you think that sales reps are lower quality these days? Do you think we're going to see a lower amount of people going into sales because they don't have that face time with people? Because I think it's all about relationships and being able to talk with someone, like you said, a waiter or a car that went to be car salesmen. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've heard some of that before of this newer generation not having people skills. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I don't think it's as much people skills, because I think every generation you're going to have to figure out how to sell. Like Gen Z will be really good at selling to Gen Z, period. Like they know each other and they know how to talk to each other. And so they'll be really good at selling to Gen Z could probably sell the millennials.
Right.
Gen Z probably can't sell the boomers. They probably can't sell the Gen X. Millennials have a problem selling to boomers, do really well with Gen X and do okay with Gen Z. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think Gen Z will be fine if they're only selling to the people right close to them. Yeah. Because sales isn't about, people skills, yes, but like the way that Gen Z talks to people is not the same the way millennials talk to each other.
Yeah, of course.
And so if you're a Gen Z selling to Gen Z, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. Because like nobody has FaceTime. So like they're all on the same playing field. Yeah, like, so if a Gen Z tries to sell Gen X, Probably not. They're probably going to have to learn a little bit, but just playing your guy, right?
Your generation.
Well, Dalton, since we're a marketing, company over here,
let's go.
With what you're doing with empathetic sales and everything, what is your lead gen process? What works for you? What do you think works for you? How are you getting your clients in the doors right now or set up with you?
Yeah, dude, I learned actually one cool thing where marketing needs to teach salespeople is copywriting.
Copywriting is huge.
Copywriting's a big one, dude.
Long form copy.
Long form copy, short form copy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I had a post the other day or last night, dude. I had posted on a Facebook group, and I was like, this is my favorite phrase. I need your opinion. But that's a thing. It's a trick I learned in copywriting. Because like, why does social media exist? Because everybody wants to give their opinion.
To share.
So like literally, this is so funny. You can go back and read it. But I said at the top, I was like, hey, accountants, CPAs, I want to get your opinion on a project I'm working on. Like, if it works, sweet. If it doesn't, no worries. But if you let me DM you, I'd appreciate it. Dude, and somebody, like 5 people commented, I'm in, you got me, I'm hooked. It's like I didn't say anything except for like there was no hook.
No hook, just like, hey,
there was no hook. I want your opinion.
Yeah.
Let me get your opinion.
People feed on that stuff.
Dude, yeah, because everybody wants to give their opinion. Everybody wants to give their 2 cents.
Oh, yeah.
So I think marketers, so that's what I do. Like I got really good at copywriting, which is something I learned when I started studying marketing.
What's your thoughts on ChatGPT?
I think it's good for ideation. Good to get your brain going.
Yeah, just a good head start. That's what I like it for.
So. Like fill in the gap. Like I'll type in a whole prompt and then it fills in a little bit, and I'm like, I never do what ChatGPT. I never post what ChatGPT gives me, but it gives you a
good idea.
I think the best writing is the best editing. So if it gives me a paper, I'll be like, oh, I know how to edit that. Perfect. Better. Like, oh, he said it, but I got it.
But I can make it mine.
Yeah.
Back with copywriting, and when you do your copywriting and you make a post, are you getting most of your leads from Facebook then, or are you putting that out on LinkedIn? Because I know where you are, but what's working the best for you? Like when you make a post, where are you going?
Facebook, coming back, dude.
Facebook's so good with groups.
Groups are good.
Dude, groups fantastic.
Groups on Facebook is just. It's just insane.
And fan pages, like it's kind of weird. Like we go through these cycles in social media. That's like LinkedIn was hot, Twitter was hot, and then while those 2 and TikTok and Instagram, they were all getting hot, everybody slept on Facebook, and so people went back to Facebook because they just wanted something could normal. Yep. And now boom, like I got 2 of my big corporate sales training clients from Facebook.
And you also do some stuff with email marketing as well.
Yeah, we do cold email.
You have a newsletter though.
Newsletter, I think newsletter is great. Yeah.
And you do that copywriting for that as well, probably. Probably.
So I think social media and then newsletter is okay. I don't do that quite as much, but podcasting is a big one. For sure. Creative prospecting. This is a new one not a new one, but like this is one that whenever I touch on, like my TikTok blows up. Like how do you prospect creatively? Podcasting is underrated.
We just talked about that a couple episodes ago. Is like using other dude. We have you on for a reason. Yeah, I know your audience.
yeah.
What's up, guys?
I'm gonna share the shit out of
it. But that's one thing that we talk about a lot. Is hey, how do you leverage other people's audiences? Well, podcasting guests is a huge way to do that.
Well, audience hacking for a podcast is great, but I even go one step further. So I got one client. Dude, I don't publish this one, and eventually it gets out. But I'll tell you a secret. I host a podcast called The Sales Corner that never gets published because it's only a lead gen tool. Really? So I will email VPs of sales and I'll say, hey, I want to interview you for my podcast. It'll be 15 minutes. We're gonna go over boom, 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 and basically, no one says no, and then it's just a qualifying meeting.
Oh, sweet. That's an intro. That's your in.
Yeah, dude. Ever to watch it? Can be like, hey, where do I see this podcast?
Yeah, I'll be like Apple. And if they ever want to see it, I'll just be like, I'll send them the Google Drive. Like I haven't posted it yet. Boom.
Do you do them like virtually in person or how?
Virtually. Yeah. So we just host a meeting.
So it's like a quick 15. That's why they never say no. It's like,
it's sure. Like, and I get to tell my story. Yeah. But I'll chop it up for clips though. Be like, hey, here's the clips. I haven't posted the full one yet, but then they post it and they have a ton of fun. But like, they get a lot of value from it.
It's super creative, and you use it as a lead gen.
Yeah.
To get
and then we'll cut it up for them.
phone call or interview video call.
Yeah, and then the questions are everything that we would ask normally,
in a
like
sales meeting.
tell me about how'd you get into VP of sales? They'll tell you their whole story. What's your favorite part of sales? Boom. Hey, what are you working on right now? This is what are your challenges with it? They're going to tell you everything their challenges with it, right? Well, that's amazing. And then you kind of riff on there. 20 minutes later, you end the podcast. They're like, wow, that was so great. Thanks so much. And you go, yeah, hey, by the way,
I do this.
that I offer.
Yeah, I noticed that you mentioned that. I just want to let you know what I do. I'm a sales trainer. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's not 100%, but I got the meeting.
But that's still cool. That's
I got
a
the
super
meeting.
creative way to get that meeting.
That's what I was saying. I think the most creative ways to get lead gen are sometimes the best. You know, it's not just the same shit that everyone else is doing.
Yeah, or a newsletter. You can just be like, I want to interview you, guest interview on my newsletter.
So I can put you on my newsletter.
So you don't even have to now you don't even have to edit anything.
Yeah.
You just record.
That's actually so cool. That's a smart way because it's so non-intrusive to get a meeting in there. You know what I mean?
Right. And everybody will have 15 minutes to brag about themselves because, right. So I'll tell you something. I think the best sales books I've ever read are not sales books. There's two that I think everybody should read.
What are they?
Listen, if you're seasoned, these don't work if you're new. Okay. If you're new, go read Fanatical Prospecting or something. Anything by Jeb Blunt or Anthony Iannarino. The seasoned ones though, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene and The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. That will teach you how to sell. Really? Yeah, all day. Because listen, the fourth law of power is always say less than is necessary, and I think it's the first or the second law of power is count on other people doing things out of their own self-interest.
That makes sense.
Explain that to.
Yeah. So you play off their ego.
Think about what
I want.
Nature is
you're gonna come on my podcast if it benefits you. You're gonna sign up with my program if it appeals to your self-interest. So. You always say less than is necessary and appeal to other self-interest. Always say less than necessary because nobody likes to, you don't want to be the guy talking in the room the whole time.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You don't want to be the guy talking in the thing the whole time. In fact, silence is the best rebuttal. Well, yeah, silence is the best rebuttal to any objection. Like if you said, it might be awkward, but if you do it, if you know how to do it right, if you know how to use silence, it's like, I need to talk to my wife. And then I just, you kind of just... And in if we were speaking in empathetic terms, I would hold space for you.
Sure.
And then people get awkward.
I know. I love that.
And then they start talking.
That was my favorite part about door to door is master awkwardness and you'll be super successful.
Yeah, dude.
Because you ask them a question, then you just put all the pressure on them. You just sit there and nod.
You just shut up. I think, listen, the first law of selling, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Ask for it. Stop talking.
Because you will literally talk your way out of a sale if you start just.
That's the number one deal killer. Is you talking.
Yep.
I was working with a sales guy one time, and the customer later, the lead, I shouldn't say customer, the lead was like, "Okay, yeah, let's do it," and the sales guy kept selling, and I was listening to him on a phone call. I was like, "Shut up, shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
Stop. Just
say great.
Say great. I'll send the proposal. just that's all you gotta say.
Ask him to take his credit card information.
Yes.
Shut the fuck up.
Just stop talking.
Well, see, that's the problem. Like people feature dump, right? Like spray and pray.
Yeah.
Right. And you you give them enough. This is another law of power, art of seduction. Give somebody just enough information to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've actually lost deals when I've personally lost deals when people are like, "Oh, this is awesome," and I go, "Oh yeah, by the way, you get this," and they're like, and you think like, "Oh wow, that's great." They're like, "Is that part of the price?" I go, "Yeah, of course,"
so
and they're like,
"Don't have that. Is that going to make it cheaper?"
Yep, exactly. Now we just fucked ourselves, and we're all the way back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Like, give somebody enough information to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And these books, both of those books are banned in prison. Most of Robert Greene's banned.
Really?
In prison.
Why?
I don't know. But like they're crazy books. Like they're pretty dark. Like dark. I mean, when I say dark, I mean like if they're in the wrong hands, they're manipulative. If they're in the right hands, it's just how to deal with people. Like this is the game.
Yeah,
this is the game. Like everybody's like, I don't want to play the game, and I'm like, well, then you're gonna lose.
You're gonna lose
because
dude,
the game is being played.
We're all playing.
Yes.
You're participating or not. You're on the sidelines. You're in the game.
Right. Like never. Like law number 2 is never outshine the master. in sales that's invaluable. Whether you're being managed or you're talking with somebody, never outshine the master. And okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like in real life? Like if I'm talking to some,
eyes light up.
I'm like, what do you mean don't outshine the master?
If you're talking to a customer, you want to be just enough of an expert so that they'll trust you, because trust is a spectrum. Like if I sell you something, I'm probably not going to ask you to watch my kids because I don't trust you like that, right? Like trust is a spectrum. And so we need just enough. I need to be an expert just enough for you to understand that I'm
an expert.
I'm an expert. But if I start to appeal to my self-interest, if I start to tell you how
like I'm the shit.
Like, how this stuff happens, or like, our company's so amazing. Like, okay, a good example of never outshine the master is I don't tell people, like, if your Coke is one of your customers, don't tell people that Coke is one of your customers. Because if they're a small business and you work with Coke, you've just outshined the master. And they're like, I don't like Coke. I actually think they're a sleazy company and I don't want to work with people who have it. Yeah. Or they're like Coke, they must pay you millions of dollars. I don't have that. And we're done before that conversation even starts.
That's super smart.
So never that's why those books.
Once again, what are those books?
The Art of Seduction, because Art of Seduction and 48 Laws of Power.
And 48 Laws of Power.
The Art of Seduction is not about
sales.
No, it's not about it's not about sex. Okay. It's not about like seduction, like
because that's the first thing I was like, this isn't a sales book. This is just like a
right, but the
like seduction book.
Pickup artists.
Yeah, but it's not though. But like, think about the most charismatic people in the world. Like they're seductive. They're not, but it's not overtly sexual. Like they're not, you know what I mean? Like real, like men who are like seductive, like can be seductive. Like I have, man, I'm like, damn, that guy. Like
without being like predatory.
Have you seen Suits?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Harvey Specter, very seductive. Yeah. He's a good-looking dude. He talks very well. His stories are great. He's powerful. You're like, what pulls me to this guy?
Yeah,
Mad Men. Yeah. Have you seen Blacklist?
Yeah.
James Spader.
Yep.
Seduct. Like you just want to listen. Like when he tells a story, you're like, shit, dude. How do you do that?
Yeah.
That's the art of. Yeah. That's
cool.
You learn that in the.
That's awesome.
Art of Seduction,
bro.
It's
a powerful tool.
Bro,
shit.
It's wild. But then you like, okay. So, and then you go the opposite. So like it works well if you're talking about Harvey Specter, James Spader, these guys. Like the reason it's dark is because Ted Bundy, some of these guys were also very seductive. Like we don't know why people were drawn to these
cult leaders.
Yeah. Like, so yes, in the wrong hands, these books are dark. Yeah. In the right hands though, we get further along in life. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Well, Dalton.
Yeah.
On that note, on that seductive note, if people want to know more about you, what you have going on, where can they find you?
Yep.
Where do you point them?
Yeah, DaltonKJensen.com.
Dalton K. Jensen.
That's it, dude.
One-stop shop.
And where can they follow you? What's Empathetic Selling?
Empathetic Selling on TikTok, or you can just type in my name. I post a lot of my own. Yeah, Dalton K. Jensen.
And also the Thinking Project podcast.
Yeah, the Thinking Project. That one's fun. That's still going, and we just have fun. That one's just a passion project now. We just kill it.
It's still super fun. Well, awesome. Thank you for being our guest today.
Always, bro.
That was awesome. We always have a great time when you're in the studio.
So much knowledge, dude. I always learn something every time you come over.
Always. Dude, I think any salesperson should re-listen to this podcast 3 times.
Super powerful.
Dude. There's so many great little nuggets in there, like golden nuggets of truth. So,
thanks, bro.
Makoa, where can they find us, brother?
As always, you guys can catch these podcasts on all major streaming networks, including Apple Music, Spotify. Catch the videos on YouTube, and you can also check them out on our website.
Perfect. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.